Hello and welcome to Expat News. I'm Leah Gillis, your host from Paris. I love the city. I mean, it's a rare person that doesn't. Love the city, love the history, mostly love that most people you talk to are well educated about lots of places and lots of things going on in those places. And to that end, one of the things that I love to do here, and so I'm going to start out this week's episode talking about a cultural moment. And this cultural moment are the Paris flea markets. Now, they are known and beloved. People love to go to them to buy everything. I certainly have, including my awesome mugs. I know, it's a mug. But the reason I'm talking about it is because as a journalist, when you go to the flea markets, there's tons of books. They also have newspapers. They have newspapers from the 1800s. Yeah, 1800s. This was €3. And because I talked to the guy and I'm such a super dork for facts and history, he totally gave me a bunch of them for less. These are mostly my favorite people to talk with because they tell me so much about the history and the cultural changes that haven't happened. Because let's face it, we're still dealing with the same issues. Now, a lot of these newspapers I love because they show issues. This one from 1892 talks about cholera in Russia. 1892. The back, however, has an image of Fontainebleau, a chateau. I'll put still images at the end so you can see it. But has still images of the president of France at the time arriving at Fontainebleau. The reason I wanted to show this and why I got it was because it just took me back. We know, like they say, there's nothing new under the sun. It's an image of a banker, if you see, the bank Rothschild, and the man's been attacked. Basically a letter bomb, right? 1895, 8th of September. This took me back because, it's a stark representation of how the same issues are happening, right? Thinking of Luigi, also the Unabomber. Just the mail attacks that happened when I was at NBC Network News as a producer, the anthrax attacks that led to several deaths in America at that time. Getting tested for anthrax it's in my memoir, surreal, but these things still happen, meaning bankers, our financial systems are not servicing all, people are attacking, it's the same stuff going on and on. There was another thing that happened that I had to buy. I had to. So this is a series of 5, I got 6, but series of 5 called Capio, Magazine Nonconformiste. We love it. And basically what this is it's a history of the Second World War. It's 5 issues of images and stories and takes from that time. It was produced in 1948, so just a few years later. But when you see the images of Churchill, you see the names of Roosevelt and the meetings. What also is alarming is, again, it's the same things that we're seeing said about either leaders or other officials' reaction or non-reaction and compliance to terrible acts. And it is echoing in an alarming fashion. And I'm bringing it up because, first of all, I got these 5 incredible episodes, and I'm not going to show one of them because they had the bad guy's face and we're not showing him. But they tell the story of what people went through. And propaganda, carte postale de propagande. That's just one page that I opened to. And it's telling the stories in honest 3 years later, right? Of what people went through, of what people in bravery actions did, what people who didn't. the tube in London during the bombings, right? It has images and stories, obviously that I've never heard, but also things that I have heard but hadn't really seen very much. And so the history is very much alive here. I'm going to do a post showing how around Paris you see signs of people wanting to remember the atrocities that happened during World War II. Jewish lives that were taken, children taken from schools never to return. These are on signs around town. And it says, may we never forget. It's this type of living history of awareness. And obviously it's not perfect. There is, I don't want to hear that. Obviously there's way more that needs to be done. Colonialism, sexism, we got isms. But when I think about America, where we do not have even demarcations of all of where the slave markets happened, all over. Because again, when you go to Berlin, they have these things called the stepping stones, and you literally tumble over where the wall was and places. They want you to remember. They want people to remember what can happen, what can be done so that it doesn't happen again. They also have beautiful memorials to the Jewish lives that were taken and to where families lived. And it is touching. It's also very uncomfortable, right? It's not nice to be confronted with atrocities. Guess what's worse? The atrocities. And so a culture that talks about can heal, can change. When you don't talk about it and you don't see it, it's what's they call mold? It's no bueno. And so I show these because, again, to go and to see so much history in a magazine, nonconformist. And let me tell you, because this is where knowing language-ish, because to get absolutely fluent is pretty tough. To know all the little things, as well as the cultural idiosyncrasies. Words change over time. So if you see a word back in the day, it might be terrible, but now it's okay, and vice versa. So, a lot of times I ask, and this is where the wonderful conversations come in, because I'll ask the person, can you tell me about this magazine? And sometimes they'll say, oh, it's, it was communist, but that just meant this, or it was an ideologue. And really, then I hear a lot of times the Frenchies get into debates and conversations. Well, no, they were more like this. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to hear and to see the rich history of journalism, of conversation. I will be including these in the weekly Expat News to remind, this is what I'm seeing here. As I see and learn of things in other places, I will highlight those. But especially now, as we're in such a digital age, when you walk around and you can actually see newspapers, images in this beautiful, it's color, absolutely beautiful color, that have survived and that we can learn from. And in some cases be humbled with how little we've changed, but also, okay, how do we handle this now? How did they handle it then? It's beautiful to see. And at a time now, obviously, when America is in such transition and has so much going on, learning from other places and cultures that have gone through, seismic changes, whether it's social change, they all go together, but the social changes, political changes, as well as how people view those. A lot of times the conversations that I have with people at the markets are illuminating because, they say some ish. I'm like, oh, it's an interesting take, monsieur, madame. I just continue on my way. But 99.9% of the time, the conversation is around, sadly, how little things have changed, how they repeat, and what we can do about it. So. And then they also had an series in 1985, where they were looking back at what happened. I will also say, funny how it was never men who had this happen to them, but just a lot of information over the years of how the atrocities and things that happened were documented and remembered. That's important. In this week's Expat News, it's seeing history around us. Is it? How do we talk about it? How do we deal with it? Especially going forward. Because, oh my God. Let me know what it is you guys want me to talk about or what things you're seeing so I can bring it up in next week's episode. And have a great week. Read, be kind to others, stand up for others for good, especially those that we might not want to, because we also have to have mercy in these times. As my throat is going, have mercy in these times. And be for others that maybe erring, maybe hardcore erring. But again, we want to create a world that is less punitive and more about restorative justice, right? More about conversation and bridge building rather than more judgment and division and hatred, because a lot of people might just want a way back, right? A lot of people just want to belong, especially when I see these images of war, of famine, of fighting, and you just think people have just always wanted to live, and how can we give people a way back? So have a great week. Be so well. And remember, part of what we're doing here at Expat News is we're challenging and changing what we talk about and how we talk about things so that we can create more unity, more of a loving, wonderful world full of learning and exploration where everybody gets to do what they want to do and have fun. Because, I mean, come on, how great does that sound? Subscribe, like, go to the website. I have articles there. Also, you can follow me on Instagram for lots of bits. Here's to more fun flea marketing finds of newspapers. I know. So me. Bisous.